Today we're going to be talking about parental alienation of fathers, since we just had our Father's Day, and I know that a lot of you guys are in pain because you are rejected by your children. Now, before I begin, my name is Lily Alabonte, and I am a narcissist abuse recovery coach for men. So those of you who are new to my channel, you know I post a lot on narcissism and navigating divorce, navigating separation, with kids, without kids. And this video specifically I'm making because this is such an issue for most of my clients, where they're divorcing a narcissistic ex-wife or separating from a narcissistic ex-girlfriend, and they have children together. So what does the narcissist do? They're going to start weaponizing the kids. They're going to try to draw a wedge in the relationship that you have with them, and then they're going to try to just permanently damage the relationship so that the kids don't ever talk to you again, right? They completely reject you and disown you. And because we live in a society where, in my opinion, parental alienation is much harder for fathers, because we look at the mother as the primary important parent that the kids need in their life. But what about the dads? Because there's so much damage that happens when the kids grow up without a father. Understand that this is a form of child abuse. And again, because we just had our Father's Day, I know a lot of my clients and a lot of men watching out there have been rejected by their kids, and it's very painful to process, to accept, to not know what to do in this situation when nobody believes you, right? When your kids don't want to talk to you. The 9 tactics that this narcissistic ex-wife or ex-girlfriend is going to use on your children. And when I say children, it could be a 5-year-old, it could be a 25-year-old, understand that. But what is she going to do? How is she going to brainwash your kids so that they don't want to talk to you, so that they reject you, so that they alienate you? Let's go ahead and dive into it. Number 1 tactic here is going to be bad mouthing, right? She's gonna say everything in the book, every line in the book about you. Daddy has financial problems. He used to cheat on me. He used to abuse me. I just didn't want you to know. I wanted to keep you safe. And remember that this kind of disrespect and bad mouthing very likely started when you and the narcissistic wife were still under the same roof. Maybe the child was present during the fights where she was disrespecting you. And, you know, I see a lot where when a girl is growing up in this kind of dynamic where the mom is yelling at the dad all the time, a lot of the time the girl will start to rub off on the mom, also disrespect the dad. And for boys, what I typically see is that they grow up kind of accepting abuse from a woman, and then they're more likely to end up in a relationship where their woman is abusive to them when they grow up. So again, this is not set in stone, but this is a lot of the patterns that I see when I work with my clients who are raising children with these narcissistic women, who are constantly just bashing these men in front of the child. And it's very, very damaging. And what's even more damaging, in my opinion, is when the child is breaking down crying, begging the mom to stop yelling at the dad, or when the mom is slowly feeding the child lies, and then the child kind of shuts down because they don't want to be in the middle of it. So either way, it's going to be very damaging. Diving into our second one, what's going to happen is that this mother is going to try to portray you as an abusive person. Okay, so she might start saying that you're unsafe. She might start questioning your competence, say to your child that she doesn't trust you when they're with you. Understand that this is going to be something that you're going to have to deal with on a regular basis, and it's going to extend to your family, where this woman's going to say, I don't trust you being with these grandparents. I don't trust you going to their Christmas party. His brother is a drug addict, you know, you name it. And you can also see it happening when you're there. Like, for example, if you're watching your kid and the mom is in the room and she's leaving, she's going to say something like, hey, I'm going to be in the next room. Call me if you need anything. And you're going to be standing there like, am I incompetent to watch my own kid? And the kid, you know, it could be a toddler, but the seeds are being planted. The child's going to question, okay, even though I'm with daddy, I have to call mom if I need something because I can't rely on my dad, right? So again, the mom is going to try to portray you as this incompetent parent, and she can't trust the safety of the child with you, okay, period. And again, they might also say that you're so unsafe because you have anger problems that maybe the mom didn't want to tell the kid about because she just wanted to protect them. Maybe you used to be an abusive parent, right? You used to be an abusive husband, and she was just trying to hide everything from the kids because she's such a good mom and she needed to withhold that information. information to keep the kid safe. Get ready for it, relax into it, because the level on which this woman is going to be lying is going to blow your mind, okay? Like, the limit does not exist here. Now, what's going to happen? You might start seeing some hostility from the kids. They get a little quiet. They get a little reserved around you. They don't feel comfortable communicating with you. And I'll be making another video discussing how can you undo the damage. But one thing I want to add here is have open communication with your child where they feel safe to talk to you, where they will know for a fact that it's not going to get back to the mom, that they're not going to disclose something to you, and you're not going to go to the mom and say, why would you do this? Because then they're going to get punished when they're with her. So always keep that in mind. And most importantly, get your kids in therapy. Therapy, therapy, therapy. That is your number one priority. And the narcissistic ex-wife or ex-girlfriend is not going to like your kid going to therapy. Keep that in mind too. Now, the next one here. So this woman is going to try to treat the child as a best friend, right? She's going to disclose way too much inappropriate information onto them. I see that more when you have like a teenage daughter, for example. She's going to try to make her best friend, maybe pour her a drink to chit chat. I actually had this happen to one of my clients where the mother was offering alcohol to the teenager daughter to be besties and to disclose information to her. Now, another thing that's going to happen, the kind of information that's going to be disclosed may very likely make your child feel guilty for the mom's issues. Like, she might start disclosing information about financial issues, like, look, your dad left us and now I have to live in this one-bedroom apartment in this bad part of town. And now the kid feels like, okay, so I'm the extension of the mom, so I'm responsible for her problems. Or maybe the kid will start to feel guilty for having a good time with you because the mom is always miserable, right? I've seen that happen where the kids will come over to the dads and they're getting out of the car and they're crying because the mom just fed them a bunch of guilt. And now they feel guilty because they're about to spend a good time with the dad and maybe his new family, but the mom is all alone. So keep that in mind, because what did this woman use on you when you guys were in a relationship or a marriage? Remember, she was probably covert to begin with, right? They always start pretty covert. And so basically you were living in this guilt, and now that you're no longer her supply, who is this damage going to be directed at? Your children. Now, this mother is going to try to limit the information that you know about your own child as much as possible, because the less present you are in their life, the less connected you feel to them, right? So she might withhold important information about medical appointments, maybe school events, maybe sporting events. For example, if your kid has some big sporting event that they really, really want you to be at, right? And the mom will say, okay, I'll tell dad and I'll make sure he's there. And maybe the mom will give you the wrong time so you're late, or maybe she's gonna not tell you at all and tell the kid, you see, I told you he doesn't care about us. He's too busy with his new family, with his new kid. So understand that your child is probably not going to simply open up to you and confront you. Dad, why were you not there? You meant so much to me. You might not even know that this happened, because she's just planting these seeds, right? But then you might start feeling a little hostility from your child, and maybe they don't want to be around you as much, and maybe they decide not to come over at all. And the mom will simply say, well, Tony doesn't want to be with you today. He doesn't want to go over to your house. Do you want me to force him? And what are you going to say? Probably no, right? You're not going to force your teenager son to go over to your house because he doesn't want to. So this is how this alienation starts to happen. This distance starts to be created. And the next thing you know, game over. You don't see your kids anymore. So another thing this woman's going to do is that she's going to try to plan really exciting things in your child's life during your hours. So maybe like there's going to be a trip to Disney World with her new boyfriend and your kid is really wanting to go, but it's during your time with them. Maybe it's your part of spring break where you have something else planned, but it's not as exciting. So they're also maybe going to shower them in expensive gifts and maybe bend boundaries in inappropriate ways. Your kid is going to be allowed to do certain things that you, as the responsible parent, are not going to want them to do. So what happens in the mind of a toddler or a teenager of that rebellious age? They're going to favor the parent that's going to be bending the boundaries, that's going to be giving them all the things that they want, right? And you're going to have to set those boundaries, because guess what? If you bend the boundary in the beginning and say, okay, you can go with mom, you can go to Disney World, even though this is my time with you, what's going to happen next? The narcissist is going to become more relaxed and make it a habit. So you better make sure that you are recording everything, that you're setting your boundaries from the beginning and explaining to your kid, you know what, I understand that you really want to go, but this is our time together. And let them act up, because they'll get used to it, okay? And the narcissist will less likely to try this over and over again, because if you're not allowing it from the start, you have to cut it at the root, because narcissists don't understand boundaries, and all of this is done on purpose. Remember that, to basically take away the time that you have with your kid and to make them that primary favorable parent. So another thing to understand here, the next one, is that the narcissistic mom will always want for the child to pick a side, because it's not okay for them to have a good time with you and then to have a good time with the mom and maybe her new boyfriend and new family, whatever, because she needs for them to have a side. And if they don't have a side, guess what's going to happen? She's going to weaponize the love. She's going to weaponize the affection and attention, and she will actually punish them. Just like she punished you in the marriage. Maybe she gave you silent treatments. Maybe she was withholding intimacy. Maybe she was doing some other things, but you really felt that cold shoulder. That's what's going to be happening to your children. Because understand that, first of all, she needs to discharge this negative energy onto somebody, right? And now she no longer has you. So the kids are the only ones there. So that's where that's going to be projected. And if there's a reason to punish, let's do it, right? If they're not picking a side, let's do it. Let's punish them. So that's how a narcissistic woman is going to think in this dynamic. Going into my next one here is that this woman is going to monitor and intercept most of the communication that you have with your kid. I'm talking about going through their phone, going through their messages, maybe calling them out. Why would you tell your dad this? Why would you talk about me? Why would you explain this to your dad? So the kid will feel unsafe to ever talk about what's actually happening with the mom, with you, because they're going to be afraid. Maybe they're going to get punished with her, you know? And I had a client where the mom would even go through the phone and then she would text the dad from the child's phone, pretending to be the child and being all hostile with the dad, pretending like the kid doesn't want to see them. So that was pretty extreme. I mean, in this case, you need to address it with your lawyer. You need to make sure that nothing is left to interpretation. You need to create safe communication with your child somehow. One of my clients would only talk to his child through Snapchat because the messages were getting deleted instantly. So the kid never feared that the mom would go through the phone and uncover that information. Also, they will try to intercept phone conversations, like when you're FaceTiming your kid, for example, maybe the mom is always going to be hanging out in the background, listening in on everything. Maybe if the kid is younger, you know, if you have this designated time when you're supposed to call your child, maybe she's going to end up calling too late, hanging up too early. Again, keep record of all of that, because they're going to try to interfere and limit and monitor everything. And last but not least, when your kid is going to return from the time that they spent with you, the mom is going to pretty much interrogate them, right? What did you do with your dad? Where did you go? What did you eat? And basically, she will criticize everything that the child did with you. And last but not least, you guys, this is pretty extreme, but this has happened to one of my clients, where the woman simply picked up the toddler and she took off. She packed the bags and she left. So this is basically kidnapping, right? Even though she's the mother, she took off. He had no idea where she was. This is now a legal concern. But understand that this is possible because under stress, a narcissist is paranoid. They're super anxious and they have extreme rage. So when they know that this is it, game over, you guys are getting a divorce, there's no reconciliation here, you can expect pretty bizarre behavior. And I mean, it's not that easy to kidnap your kid when they're like a teenager or a young adult. But if it's an infant or a toddler we're talking about, then this is something that you also need to keep in mind just in case, okay? Because last thing you want is for this woman to take off with your child when she is in that state of mind where she's super anxious and paranoid, and she's already probably super neglectful to begin with, okay? Because again, she's not thinking of the child's interest in her head at all, right? It's all about how you made her feel and how angry she is and how she's getting back at you now. Okay, I hope this is helpful for you guys. Again, this is only part 1 out of 3. I'm going to make part 2 and part 3 on what is the damage control, what can you do, and also how to spot that the child is being alienated from you. And I'm wishing you guys love. I'm wishing you guys presence and acceptance. And I know that this is probably the most painful subject for most of my fathers that I work with when they're separating from a narcissist and they have children together. Because again, what can you do? It's never going to be sugar coated for you, right? It's going to be really difficult until your kid grows up, period. But relax into everything, do what's within your control range. And if you need more help navigating this, I do one-on-one coaching. Remember that. The link is in my bio. And I'll see you guys in my next video very soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, you all.